You are elected at a time when one of your colleagues, Sir David Amess, is murdered. That came just a few years after the Labour Party MP, Jo Cox, was murdered, both at constituency surgeries. Do you feel safe in this job?
Yes and no, to tell you the honest truth. So, for example, Gloria, MPs now have access to security guards at constituency surgeries. So I've had some of those when I've been at Asda or local supermarket precincts or wherever, and rightfully so, because we are in the public profile and people hold different views, especially when there are contentious headlines and stories in the press and people want to rightly expose those and give themselves a platform to have those views. Having said that, I think the level of vitriol and opposition MPs face, fueled in a large part by social media and some of the press, I think has got to a point where there will be MPs who ask themselves, do I really want to be in this job anymore? Do I want to receive the abuse on social media, in the mailbox? I do, week in, week out. And just to tell you a story which happened on Friday, so only last week, I was out knocking on doors in the constituency like I do 2 or 3 times a week, and one gentleman came to the door, had the usual full and frank conversation with a few swear words. And normally a few years ago, that would have been it. The door would have been closed, he would have gone inside and that was it. Well, that gentleman followed me and my team down the street, shouting abuse with a placard. And when we were speaking to people on the doorstep, he got up to members of the public, don't trust these man, don't trust these people. And he was extremely violent and aggressive. And you could tell whether or not he had something going on in his life, who knows. But it clearly wasn't a person who was at ease with himself or indeed society. And in the end, I had to call the police to come and have a word with this gentleman because he just was not leaving my team and I alone. And we did feel threatened. He was extremely intimidating, and you could have easily have envisaged a scenario where that position or situation would have moved on to become something very, very different. And if I say that's the second time in 6 months when my team and I have been out canvassing and we've had to call the police because somebody has been extremely rude, violent and intimidating and has followed us down the street for a number of 10 or 15 minutes, shouting abuse, and who hasn't left us alone. That gives you an indication of the level of opposition MPs face when we're going about doing our daily jobs.
How quickly did the police get to you on both those occasions?
The first time, which was September last year, about 5 or 6 squad cars came within about 10 minutes. So it was quite an incident. It was about 20 minutes on Friday before the police arrived. It was 2 PCSO officers, and a lot can happen in 20 minutes for good or for bad. So that was a bit concerning. And I do know from speaking to other colleagues, people have encountered this on the doorstep as well at surgeries. It's not just one story from one individual MP. And I'd like to think I can handle myself. I grew up in a tough working class environment in Yorkshire. So I don't mind knocking on doors in the most difficult of places within the constituency and having full and frank conversations with people. But there becomes a stage when people follow you for 15 minutes and are violent and within 6 inches of your face shouting abuse when that does become too much. And that's my concern going forward, not just around social media, not just around the highly charged debates, but we have to strive as a society to have fruitful and difficult conversations politically, but to do so in a position where members of the public don't come up to MPs in that manner, because nobody deserves that.
What should happen to those people that do threaten MPs?
Well, we've got different Acts of Parliament going through at the moment around online safety. I think there's far more the government need to look at in terms of a political debate. I'm never one for censorship, but there becomes a point when certain people from often anonymised accounts are spreading hatred, bile and abuse. I think that does need to be tackled. And I think we have to make it clear and strive to, especially following the tragic events, not just of Jo, but of David as well. The government have to make it clear that MPs need to be properly protected, and they need to be able to go about their jobs as public representatives and sometimes say controversial and difficult things without being placed in a threatening position.